Good morning. Hi, it's Beth Burrell in the garden here at Cedarfield. And today I'd like to share with you some of our pretty plants in the shade garden and trail. It's already inviting. We have some wonderful benches to sit on, and this is one of our shady escapes. It's beautiful now, and certainly in the summer when we get that oppressive heat, this is the destination to go to enjoy the cool of these wonderful tall hardwoods that anchor the garden. There's a fabulous collection of hostas that you'll see that wind throughout the gardens here, as well as some very rare and unusual plants, beautiful evergreens, flowering shrubs, lots of various perennials and ground covers. With our hosta, here's one that's very interesting. It's called White Feather, and you can see how light in color. Many of the hostas here do have an identification label. Some do not, and that's kind of the genesis of a garden. You may start out with a label and later it gets stepped on, it gets blown away. Mother Nature comes in and weathers it. So it's a nice balance, but many things are labeled again for that educational experience that you can share and enjoy, and just get to know the plants a little bit more intimately in the different gardens. So White Feather, let me get a little closer in so you can see how blonde that leaf is, and then the veins are a nice dark green. As the seasons progress, this will darken up more to a little bit more of a chartreuse green. And when it first comes out, it's literally white. You can see that, zero in here, that bud right in the middle here, and it's completely white. Fascinating, isn't it? We also have hostas in the garden that are miniature. And this is a size hosta that I've not seen in a lot of people's garden. Again, you get to see the hand here, and so you can see, put my hand over it, and that almost covers the entire plant. We're over here with White Feather. You can see there's a lot more hosta there beyond the size of my hand. So this little hosta is called Little Devil. It has just a very wisp of a yellow margin along a nice green with a little bit of blue tinting in that foliage. We have Luna Moth, which has a very pretty wave, which is a nice gold and has an irregular green around the margin and into the leaf foliage interior. This is Rainforest. Love the foliage on this. Isn't that something? Look at all the different colors from blue to green to gold and in between. Fabulous. And next door, as a wonderful accent and companion plant, is this big, bold heuchera, another one of our coral bells. Isn't that absolutely gorgeous? And next to that, we have one of our gingers. This isn't, and again, the foliage color is outstanding. It never needs to bloom because that foliage is what carries you so far. Beautiful little planter here. It's planted with two plants, lamium, which is the silver, which is flowering in pink. See that foliage? Silver with a light green border. Here's the flower, just a deep magenta. And its companion over here, which is a wonderful cascading plant, is a saponaria. Light pink, teeny little flowers about the size of a baby's breath. And it cascades down all the way to the floor of our shade garden. So our gingers, I'm going to peek in several different ones. If they're flowering, which I'm not finding anything on this one, they're hidden deep into the inside of the plant. There's a nice collection of hellebores that have already finished blooming. And we have some hostas that are quite large. So there's a leaf and a hand. See how large that is? That leaf is about 10 inches long by about 9 inches wide. And these big, bold hostas are another very important. You have the wonderful texture of the leaf. You have some nice puckering, which is a term that you'll see in hosta identification. There's a very light green variation. This little hosta, here's another teensy one. Look at her cowslips. Beautiful, precious little plants here. Still some blooms hanging on. And this little gem is called popcorn. The leaves are about 1 inch long by 1/2 inch wide. See, no plant. There it is. Popcorn. Now, this has been always a favorite. This one is very blonde and gold. This is Fire Island. The petiole, which is kind of like their stem here, is red. And that's another huge sought after quality with hostas now, are getting the red stems that go along with the foliage. Most of the time they're green, but breeding now, the red stem is a hot commodity. And it's a great contrast, again, to that gold foliage. And hostas, they are such wonderful, tough little plants. So this is in a pot. I brought this from home a couple of years ago to share in the garden. It's been in the pot, I guess, probably about 5 years, along with this little one down below. I don't know the name of this little teensy little hosta, but the pot, it's about a 4-inch, 5-inch pot here, and I've divided it, let's say about twice in about 6 years. It's probably will be ready this fall to take some of that out, but you know, it comes back winter after winter like a champ. So who could ask for more than that? Easy. Look at this fabulous fern right here. This fern is easily, it's about 36 inches tall right now. And this is autumn fern, a native. Got got some beautiful copper tones right now as it's still emerging. Still unfurling. Just fabulous. And so with a nice tall element in the garden like this, it allows you to have other plants tucked in as an understory plant, just like you would do with a tree. There's also part of the hosta collection are in containers tucked throughout the garden. This one has 3 different varieties. And in front of that, which is a wonderful softening ground cover, is this a chorus grass called Ogon. I'm not sure the name of this hosta. Oh, there's a tag. It's being completely covered. Fragrant Fire. So not only is this hosta, you know, beautiful in coloration, the flowers are going to be fragrant. And that's a really special quality that you don't get with many of the hostas. Another one of our containers. Nice gold hosta. Green variegated. Has a pretty little wire vine coming out of that. This one has a perennial called Fallopia. Nice tall foliaged element. And tucked in is an old-fashioned columbine, Nora Barlow. It's dancing in the wind right now with the breeze that we're having. And this nice cool weather that we've been having. Well, it's no longer dancing with the breeze, it's being pushed over by the wind. Let me just show you a few other interesting things. We'll be revisiting this garden quite a few times, so I don't want to share everything at one time. You'd probably get tired of listening to me. So this beautiful drift, let me just back up a little bit here so you can see this ground cover in here. It has a grayish foliage. This is in the borage family, and some of the things that are in our Boraceae family include Virginia bluebells, our pulmonarias, and this is a comfrey. So the flowers are very much a Virginia bluebell flower. Let me just home in on this. Look at that. And so this is just now coming into bloom. It's a stoloniferous plant, which means it has underground living shoots that go under the ground, and a new plant pops up. So that's why it's able to make such a beautiful colony. And this is planted in a wonderful place, and I hope to move some around to some other areas in the garden where it can colonize as well. Now this particular stem, you can kind of see it looks quite a bit different. It's much fatter at the top. You see how it's kind of congested? See how open that is? Let me back up. So it's a little dappled light here, so I'm going to just pull that back and, oh, let me share. So we have a bumblebee visiting. So this plant is giving back to nature. How special is that? So going back, this stem has grown together. This happens sometimes with plants. See how thick that is? It's called a fasciated stem. I'm not sure how well you can see that. There's a lot of shadows kind of going on. Try a different angle. That's a little bit better. See how thick that is compared to the normal stem? Fasciated stem. Pretty cool. Anyway, several stems have conjoined together to make one. It's kind of an interesting bit of nature that happens at times. And so let me just walk a little bit more. I want to end this with a few other little pretty flowers that are in bloom. This is another native ground cover. This is a native phlox. Phlox stolonifera. This is a purple blooming form. That's a hosta sum and substance, huge chartreuse foliage hosta. Now this is the giant so far in the garden. Give you some scale here. These leaves are about 14 inches by 12 inches. Look at that. Isn't that something? And over here is an interesting heuchera as I try and talk over another dump truck traveling through. It's a nice blend of construction songs and bird songs all melded together right now. So as it comes out, it has this kind of burgundy, rust, venation, kind of a yellowish orange foliage color. So it really pops out here in the garden. And here, this is their native columbine, canadensis. And this is growing in a pot, which they do fabulous in containers, as well as in the natural plantscape. And there's still quite a few more blooms on the other stalk that haven't opened up yet. Aquilegia canadensis, also known as columbine. And columbine, when you're reading about them, they refer to part of the flower parts, the spurs. And the spurs are these flower parts right here of the petal, just as it looks. And then some of the columbine hardly have any spurs. Some flare out, some bow in. So it's an interesting characteristic now when you're looking at columbine to see what type of shape, form, and size the spurs take. We tweak this little flower back. There we go. You can see inside. See the wonderful little stamens. The hummingbirds are attracted to this. And right here is a bud. It hasn't quite opened yet. And those spurs are pulled straight back. Almost looks a little bit like an octopus right there. So here we are, having a nice stroll back through the shade garden. The wonderful foliage and the flowers. So if you're out and about walking and haven't yet had the opportunity to discover this garden, just come up to town center, go across the walkway as if you were going up to the court, and the sidewalk will split. Take the sidewalk to the right and it will take you straight into the shade garden and trail. This is Beth Burrell in the garden, and enjoy touring the shade garden, and I hope you get a chance to see it in person. stay safe, stay healthy, and have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.